Headcanon
idea.
accepted. Headcanon fully accepted.
Oh God. Okay. So we have Remus, shy, quiet, mostly, but around his friends, probably very funny, sarcastic guy. We've
Yes.
got Sirius, always out loud, sarcastic, crazy person. But in their little friend group sitting at lunch or sitting out on the grounds or whatever, do you think he pulled back any? Or like his inner self was different amongst his friends?
Who?
Sirius.
Sirius pulled back?
Like when the four of them are just sitting on the side of the beach watching the octopus thingy, all the
I
words
think that's one
gone.
of the interesting about no, we know you, the giant squid. I
I was
think
gonna
that's
say
one of
all the
the
words that were wrong there, but go ahead. I was
I
like,
said all the words are gone. Like, because I imagine Remus coming out of his shell when he's just the four of them sitting, like watching the giant squid after lunch or whatever. But do you think there was a different side to Sirius that we've never really contemplated? Because what we got to know was the adult version of the team.
I
I have
think
an
at
answer, but
some
Sam, go
point, I think at some point James pulled him aside, probably in their like third year, and was like, "Hey, can you let Remus talk a little bit more sometimes? You keep kind of steamrolling him." And I think that started a change in Remus when they were just in their friend group, would sometimes kind of reel Sirius in and be like, "All right, you're really funny, but we need to do this astronomy homework."
Okay.
Okay. I was gonna say, I think Sirius was more boisterous, loud showman outside, and in the
Absolutely.
dorm is when he pulled back.
That's what I was saying. Sorry, when it was just the four of them.
Well, I'm not saying inside outside. I'm saying when it's just the four of them,
Yeah,
I don't see Sirius being the jokester, prankster, loud in your face guy because he had nothing to prove with those three,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
agree.
And like we know that they were considered bullies in some cases, but I think amongst the four of them, we're talking about a kid who has lost his whole family.
Yeah.
Regardless of how happy he may be to be out of that family, he had to have moments of he's alone in the world. And even though James' family took him in, it's still not his family, you know? So I wonder if because we see the stunted man who comes out of Azkaban and we hear the stories from Harry's perspective, we don't think about the hormonal teen boy who every once in a while was like, I have no family. I have no one related to me
Yeah.
to go to. You know what I mean? And I feel like
There
he
had to be more there
introspect.
because there had to be more there. There had to be some kind of introspection because Remus would not have been friends with the Sirius that we see in the memory if that was
Right.
all that he was.
That's what I'm.
So there was definitely a connection. And it says they in the third book they embrace each other like brothers. We
Mhm.
know that they were close. We know that there was more there, even though Sirius is still a little bit flighty.
I
Well,
mean, I think
Um,
he's flighty, but I think he had depth that we never got to see.
I
well,
agree.
I'm gonna throw this thought out there because I think this may have been where it happened. If nothing else, I want the story of seventh year. Because now picture this the four musketeers. One of the musketeers gets a girlfriend. And James is no longer who I think was often the glue of the group is now glued to someone else often. And I think that was the year that Sirius and Lupin really bonded.
Remus.
And
I had to do it at least once. I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Sorry, I bend to the rest of the fandom. He's Lupin. Um, but no, and thinking about that, those two bonding that year. Fast forward 2 or 3 years, they're James and Lily are married and have a kid. They get married, they have Sirius as the best man, Sirius is the godfather, and there's enough of a break in friendship that Sirius and Remus can blame each other. What I would love to know what happened. Was it just that after graduation, Remus just took to himself and became the vagrant then? Like, what happened
So
I
this
think
year?
it was because he was away, because the Order of Phoenix had already formed. They had
Mhm.
already started working for the Order, and
yeah.
he was away. Like, I think that had a lot to do with it. Whether the break would have happened naturally as adults or whatever, I think the break was the fact that he was away for a long time. And all of the big stuff happened while he was gone.
Do you mean
But
Lupin was
also,
away on like assignment? What do you mean
Yes.
he was away?
Yes.
Okay.
He was away on assignments working for the Order. James couldn't go anywhere because he was with Lily, they were getting married. Like, they weren't going to be the ones going to find people, going to find help, going to be underground. Like, they weren't going to do that. I
I'd
think
like to
Sirius
put
could have, but
I'd like to put a possibility forward. Is it possible that James asked Lupin to be the godfather, but Lupin said, I am going to be living essentially on the run and be a vagrant. I can't like give a stable life to your possible child.
I can absolutely see
I
that.
can see that. I can.
That
Because and then when we talk about Lily, I always got the, and again, this might be my hopeful Hufflepuff coming through. I always got the feeling that she was hanging out with the guys a lot.
mhm.
And they obviously like they're dating, so they have their them time. But
No, I'm sure she was hanging out with them a lot, and I'm sure there were times where she was hanging out with her own friends. But
yeah,
it's sort of like when one of your friends gets married, especially when you're in your 20s, the dynamic just changes.
yeah,
There's just a shift, and that's what I'm really thinking about more than anything else. There's just a shift, not a full break. But there had to have been a big enough shift that Sirius could genuinely think his bookish, shy little friend would turn on them.
he says he didn't know who had done it.
He says that, but they both also say, I suspected you, and I'm sure you suspected me, which
Yeah,
I can understand why Lupin would suspect Sirius because everybody did. It was this big news story. Like, I get
right.
that. But there had to have been a level of distrust that built in somewhere to make Sirius suspect Lupin.
And I don't think it was a level of distrust. I think it was space and time. He was
Yeah,
in the underground doing order business in the North Country for a long time. They had no contact with him. I mean, probably limited contact with him.
Mm-hmm.
Lives were continuing, and the three of them were still three of them. And then he's off and he's doing his own thing. And while, they probably had owls now and then, they really didn't know what his life was for almost a year and a half. So, not that I think that was probably the first choice in Sirius's brain, but I think it was probably a viable choice to think that Remus could have had something to do with it.
Okay,
He's been
fair.
gone a while. He could have been corrupted.
yeah.
He's been underground. He's working on the other side to try to, weed out Voldemort.
Embracing
Could have
his
been
werewolf
corrupted.
side.
He's a werewolf.
And he's an intelligent person. He would have the ability. That's why no one suspected Peter because they were like, nah, he's not not
Yeah.
smart enough.
So I don't think it was like they had a falling out. I don't think there was any
Yeah,
moment when they could even tell you we stopped trusting each other implicitly. I think it was just space and time over a while, and then circumstances made it a viable option that the other could have done it.
All right.
I mean, I hate that
That-
it happened like that, but it's also part of adulthood. You grow for you, like your lives aren't intertwined anymore.
Yeah.
And you have room for doubt.
And you have to try really hard to stay connected, even if you're not friends during a wizarding war.
Right? Right?
It still takes a lot of effort, and I can see Sirius getting bored with putting in that effort and Lupin just not having the time or availability.
And honestly, I hate to say it this way because it's very stereotypical, but stereotypically, guys are not ones to call each other and just chat.
Yeah, Harry's not great at letter writing.
Right? I mean, we're talking letters, owls, and flu calls. I don't see either of them making that concerted effort once a week on Wednesday. We're going to meet at 2. Like,
Even
no.
the letter we do see of that era is from Lily to Sirius.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Really serious, though.
I know.
Because he's the one that pops by. He's the one that is there.
The one that's giving brooms to the baby.
He probably, I mean, that happens. You know, you see someone and it's just like, oh yeah, we were really close in high school. Weird. Or I don't know.
So here's the other thing I thought of. They're in the Shrieking Shack. All the shit's gone down. The truth is now out.
Wait. Where are you?
At the end of Harry's 5th year.
Okay, so they're adults.
In the Shrinking Shack. We're adults. The truths have now come out. We are now hugging this person we haven't seen in 11 years, who both of us think the other might have done it. And we're having this moment of, oh shit, neither one of us did it. And we're back together for the first time. Had the next day not happened.
Goodness gracious.
Just that next 24 hours, had the moon been the next day, what do you think their reunion would have been like?
Okay, just because I'm me, I'm going to say it. Damn you, Snape! Because Snape destroyed all hope for them to just...
No, because the moon came out. I mean, he forgot his wolf's bane. Yeah. The moon came
out.
But
they would have been taking that journey much sooner.
Right.
And it may not have been then. There may have been.
And they also could have waited the next day to have a next day. Because if Snape didn't know that Lupin was out there, he would have changed back.
And about Snape.
I'm just
saying, if the moon had been the next night, how would their reunion have been different?
I think the two of them would have gone to see Madame Rosmerta and gotten a drink and sat there for hours, just like recounting everything and then going into old times and being like, okay, what are we going to do with Harry? When are we going to tell him this?
See, I think your Hufflepuff just came out.
I think you're, because you skipped a whole bunch of steps.
They would have literally been like, wait, so if it wasn't you and it wasn't me and it was Peter, we need to tell someone.
Right.
Like, I think they would have tried to clear.
They would have gone straight to Dumbledore.
Yeah. That happened during that night. You're saying the next day.
No, I'm saying the moon's not till the next day, so he doesn't turn. They get to leave the Shrinking Shack happily together. Yeah. What's the next things they do?
Yeah, the plan was to fucking go to Dumbledore. Yeah.
Right. I think they would have gone to Dumbledore.
They cleared his name.
Yeah. Honestly, Sam, I misunderstood her question at first too. I thought she also said next day everything goes differently. Yeah.
I don't know. You know, Sirius is just hiding out in their Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom. Like, of course they try to clear his name.
They would have gone to Dumbledore. They would not have, and I'm sorry, but they would not have had the Dementor's kiss come into play.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that would have happened.
I think they would have absolutely, and you brought Snape into it, so I'm going to say it. They totally overnights at some point would have played some sort of joke on Snape for old time's sake.
Oh my God, the first night.
Yeah.
I don't think they would have.
Because
Well,
Sirius
if
has
it
so much
happened,
hate in his heart for that boy.